Hey, and welcome to the Original Black Nerd Show. And this is Observations from the Front Porch. And we're going to hit it off with that next Batman Chapter 2, written by John Ridley, art by Laura Braga, breakdowns by Nick Darrington, and colors by Arif Perito. And if I got anybody's name wrong, I'm sorry. So our next Batman opens up with Batman coming upon a murder in a back alley, and upon looking at all the information, he sees that the wallet wasn't stolen or anything, so it wasn't a robbery. So by noticing a TV camera, surveillance camera, he's figured out that he doesn't have a lot of time, so he blows open the door, goes in, looks at the surveillance camera, and as he's looking at the surveillance camera, he notices that it was two assailants, so they were waiting for the Vic, and it was a planned hit. And when he watches the video, he says, not trained fighters, but they brutal as hell. Vic's down and they're still swinging, so they got like a hammer and a bat, and they like going to work. And so then they say, what are they wearing? And it says polygon mask to defeat facial recognition AI. These two are professionals. Now, these are kicks back to, flashbacks back to the end of the last issue. We see these two walking down the subway behind this character here. And I thought it was the detective, but no, I was wrong. So this character here, so that's how we ended, and that was the mask they were wearing. So this is something that used to defeat the AI system. So he sits there, and then now we find out that he's got a partner named Val, and he says needs to get these images to Val. And at that point, he hears the police coming. Damn. They're here 40 seconds early. They're getting better. So as you can see, Batman's using looks like a regular cell phone. So he doesn't have any high-tech gadgetry. He doesn't have any incomes. He just got a cell phone. So, of course, that's not hard to trace. So, of course, in comes the mattress, and you hear him thinking, it's the mattress foot soldiers. They literally have a kill list, and I'm sitting at number one. Now, in the Outsiders, the thing said that Duke Thomas was most wanted, and then in Nightwing, he's the most wanted there. So they got a lot of number ones on their kill list. Maybe it's just his sector. But anyway, so the cops come in, and then Batman comes down, says, hey, I'm just doing my job. He goes to work on them. And I can appreciate this fight scene because I taught the martial arts for a number of years, and I like a few of the techniques that he was throwing, but Batman figures it's too many of them, it's too tight, I gotta run. So he makes a break out. He breaks through a grass window, and all of a sudden, hands up, and he's faced with the backup. And he now here that we find him flinging out some batarangs at and it just bounces off of them. And we find out that they have head-to-toe body armor, and the shurikens are no good. So unless I'm going to use deadly force, I need to fall back. So we see that he's not going to want to kill anybody, so he has that kind of code of honor similar to what Batman has, Bruce Wayne Batman. And we also see that he doesn't call them batarangs, he doesn't call them anything, he just calls them what they are. So he starts to run away, he gets hit in the side with a shot, so obviously his suit is not a high-tech Kevlar Batman suit, so this is like some Adam West action, back in the day. So he hits him with a couple flashbangs, and so we think he's gone. The guys say, like, you go nowhere to go, come out. And so all of a sudden we see, and he comes out on a motorcycle. No, not a bat cycle, a regular old motorcycle with looks like a bat front. and he jumps them in. They try to shoot him. He can't. He gets away. And at the time, here's where we really find a little bit more about him. He goes, "Val, you there? Yeah, I'm here." And he talks about he's uploading some video of some perks. He needs to be tracked. He's looking for a murder, and he sent out about a Louis Tversky, and see what you can find out about him. And so he's figuring out that that they done found the phone. So I'm burning this phone. I'm gonna hit you back later. So he peels off, trying to get away from these drones. And he's like pissed. He says like this shoot on site law currently Gotham currently has is garbage, Mr. Mayor. Now, this is also, you guys, this is a tie-in that, like, this is after Joker War, but it's also tied into the storyline from Detective Comics when the mayor, the newly elected mayor, got elected on an anti-mask, anti-vigilante platform. So, we find out that now we find a little bit more about what's going on, which is a little twist to this one. So, next thing we come on, we follow his Lucius Fox's wife, Jake's mother, and she's talking with the mayor, and she's a lawyer, a constitutional lawyer, trying to tell him like, hey, you should have called me in a little earlier on that deal. But first she starts going at him, and we hear she goes, I know that how dangerous these masks are, all of them. I've seen what they done to my family, to my husband, our daughter. They all deserve to pay for what they did to Tamara. Now we don't know what Tamara is, why she's in the hospital yet. We just know that she's in the hospital, okay? And the mother associates something that happened with the mask with her being in the hospital. So now we do know that Punchline terrorized Lucius and Joker War, but we don't know what happened to Tamara yet. But by the way, she says the way the law is written, it's not going to stand to a challenge. And she said, that's why I brought you in. And so they go back and forth, and she says, now this is real funny because it's kind of timely. So she says, he asks, is there any way that this can stand up to a legal challenge? They're talking about the paramilitary force, the matchers, right? So she goes, hey, yeah, two problems with that. A person has a right to make a citizen's arrest when in the presence of a felony is established law. So you can't stop them from locking people up who commit crimes. He says, and the Justice Department requires police forces to engage in equal or lesser force. A beat cop using ordinary service for a pistol against Joker or Punchline is fine. But now here's where we find a twist. But the magistrate, a private militarized assault force, crows, using bullets tipped with spent uranium, shotguns that fire dragon's breath, killer drones. There's nothing equal or less about any of that. And so here's where the twist comes. The mayor comes back and says, the city contracts its ordinance through Fox Tech. If you have a problem with the firepower, maybe you should talk to your husband. And she comes back, she says, Lucy and I have had conversations. He comes back and says, well, maybe you should have a few more. Have you ever tried to stop Batman with an ordinary gun? And then we go to a close-up to her face. She said, I can't say as I ever have, but looking mean, mama. But I wish it would be my pleasure to try. So she really got it in for Batman. And also, Fox Tech, of course, we found in Joker War, at the end of Joker War, we know that Catwoman transferred all the money over that Joker had stole from Bruce Wayne, that she stole from Joker, and transferred it to Lucius Fox control until Bruce Wayne, because everybody thinks he's dead now. But so Lucius Fox is now controlling all of Bruce Wayne money, Bruce Wayne Enterprises, and he's producing the firepower. Wow. So then we kick over to Jace. He's in there and his little storage space hiding out. He don't have no bat cave. He don't have nothing. He gets out a phone. I mean, he's hoping that his compression suit will hold on the blood. Like, he don't know what to do. But he does have some technical things in the suit. And he says, he starts to question some things. He says, I can barely handle the magistrate foot soldiers. How am I supposed to manage as peacekeepers? So he's understand that he's not that tough as when it comes to dealing with these, serious super villains. So sometimes I'm not sure if I'm trying to punish the guilty or just punish myself. Truth is, it's pretty much the same. And we get a close-up shot of his face there on there. And now what we find is that he's, has some type of guilt that's driving him to be this Batman. Okay? So he hits up Val, you there? And he says, Jace, I'm here. You don't sound very good. So he talks about he got the bullet in him, and so it comes back that the guy says, hey, there's nothing on this. The people, the guy, he has got nothing back, but I can't check his personal computer yet. It's gonna take a minute. He says, I don't have no Jace. It's like, I ain't got the time. So he says, how about the bad people? He says, I can't link them with nobody. But they were wearing the face masks that they ran into, but he had a body algorithm. Now, that ties back to the detective Chubb, and we'll get to that in a minute. But anyway, so he gets a location on his little cell phone. Boom, he throws it down. He gets up out of here, and he's gonna go get these Vicks. So he takes off. And so here we cut to the next scene, and we find a little bit about how the magistrate interacts with the local GCPD. It's typical, the big overwhelming federal type forces and the local forces not getting along. So of course we see that Detective Chubb that we met in the first issue that was talking about some shady ex-partner of hers, talking to a shady ex-partner of hers. So anyway, she's talking, and here you got these guys going back and forth about, are you sure it was Batman? We don't have no electronics. We can't track him because all he got is a cell phone. But anyway, the guy says, yeah, it was Batman. The third time he punched me in the face, I made a point to identify him. And this guy come back and say, look, you want to get smart, try doing that before you let some mask kick your ass. So he says, the guy come back and says, look, man, all I'm saying is we had him outnumbered, outgunned, and he tore through us like we were nothing. And so it goes back and forth, and of course the detective. Now you hear the detective come off, and she's like, hey, it's a dead body over here. The guy's like, hey, that's not our problem. And so now we understand how the situation breaks down when the commander of the magistrate's local forces goes, we get paid to take out the mask. Collateral damage is for the rest of you. And so he's like, and then he goes and gives them the standard, it's not me, it's my boss. We're hitting her with, hey, I feel you, but my CEO doesn't care about dead civilians in back alleys. So unless you got something on the bats, good luck with all this sis. So he dips out on her, and they find out that they done caught the Batman's mobile signal, how hard that was. And so they go on their way to go find Jace. So, of course, we find a little bit about it, and the detective says, so, Chubb, how are the peacekeepers better than the mask? And Chubb hits him back with some advice, Tals. Good cops don't ask bad questions. We just do what we're told. So that tells us a little bit, because she came in the last issue, she came at her ex-partner, like, some dirty cops not, telling people how to do some crimes, but they got to leave right afterwards. So boom. So now we go back to Jace, and Jace is, talking about he's tired, he's hurt. He said he don't know if he can take out these two sociopaths. And he just tries to hit them with the, maybe they're going to be scared of Batman. He drops down in front of them, and nah, that don't work. He goes, man, what happened to the time thugs being cowardly and superstitious? And so then he breaks down his two opponents, and he easily handles them. And as he goes to beat down the biggest one, somebody yells, stop. And here we find out that the two people who killed the guy are a couple. They just are some couple. And what happens is that we find out that the guy, Jersky, was one of those creeps you read about who goes online, grooms young kids, and meets them in real life and do things. He met our daughter on social media. He got into her head, got her to come visit him and vent. And then we never saw from her again. And so Batman, of course, said the police investigated. They said, well, he was careful. He ain't doing anything. They couldn't do something. So Batman's like, well, you decided you could. She said, well, we found someone on the dark web for a price. He'll help you plan the crime, just one. Then you'll have to disappear. And Jersey was a murderer. The guilty deserves to be punished. You're the Batman. Don't you believe that? So this goes back to last issue where we found that the Detective Chubb had run up on her ex-partner saying that she had heard about some ex-cop helping people to commit one crime and then dip out. So, hey, tied into that. So we see that these people were the people who the detective had made the deal with. So I had a detective connection, but I had the wrong connection. Anyway, we cut back to Batman. He's thinking now. He says, I am the Batman. And now we get a scene that I think sets it for with a lot of stuff, my opinion. So what we get a scene now where we see Batman, we see the Shadow, which I'm assuming is Jace. And we see a guy run over by a car. And the guy's laying in the ground. You see the tire tracks right over the middle of the guy, and the Shadow standing over him, and it wasn't any swerve marks before. So I'm doing that forensic thing. So the little guy goes, help me. So he says, do I believe the guilty deserve to be punished? And the guy says, help me. And he says, yeah. I believe the guilty deserve what they get. So I don't know if he killed the guys because the guy was guilty of something, or did he kill the guy by accident? He ended up going to jail. That's why he met the Russian guy. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to find out. So he goes back and he says, gives him the Batman thing. You shouldn't have slaughtered him, even if he did kill your daughter. And she says, we got justice. And the guy says, there's no ifs. If he did it, and he says, what did he do? Whatever he did is still murder. So now this is interesting, and he says the monster took our little girl. We had nothing. Well, what else can we do? Now this is an interesting time because what we find is that one, if the tie-in to Catwoman has now hijacked a train. Spoiler alert if you read any of this stuff. But Catwoman has had a train that was full of kids that were kidnapped and were getting taken to re-education camp. And her little group of strays, which is her new little gang, and they took the train back, and they find in the bottom, we find Bruce Wayne alive. Which everybody here thinks Bruce Wayne is dead, because even in Nightwing, which ties in Nightwing and Jace meet up in Nightwing's issues, which they gave leads into the issue 1, which leads into issue 2. But Nightwing and the whole Bat family think that Bruce Wayne is dead. Now, remember that this is taking place in 2025, 5 years in the future or so, and Dark Knight Death Metal, which is Bruce Wayne's, is taking place in 2027. So so they don't know Bruce is alive yet. So they going under that. So we go back. I go back. I digress. That's a little side note, but we go back and he says, "Yeah, that monster took our little girl. What else would you have us do?" And you hear a voice in the back says, "He's not the one you have to worry about. We are." And now you see the magistrate and the whole crew lined up, ready to rock and roll, go to work, and it's to be continued. So that's how the issue ends. So tied into the other issues, I like it because I can see. I'm a Batman fan. I read all the Batman stuff, so I understand the Joker Ward connection, the Detective Comics connection, how they're melding those in for the run that's going to come forward in March, how the future state is tying into that. So I am enjoying it. It brought up I know a little bit more of the Lucius Fox is putting that money in. We know that he is not Batman. He don't have no Batman gadgets. He ain't been in the Batcave. He got the Adam West Batsuit that he can get shot through. So. And he got an Under Armour compression pack underneath. So, yeah, okay. So, he's not, technically. So, I enjoyed it. I'm excited, looking forward to the next one to see how more things are tied in. And if you stayed this long, make sure you like, subscribe, share, and most importantly, stay safe. Enjoy. Peace.